Hey everybody, Mike Chipperini at Chipper's Island Adventures, and today I'm going to do a big install on my Travato 59K, and this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and that is I'm going to put an Aluminess ladder on the back door of my Travato, and that Aluminess ladder also has a spare tire carrier. Okay, so hey everybody, I'm standing in back of my van. I'm all ready to go. I've been wanting to do this project for a while because I do not like traveling without a spare tire. And the thing is, on these Travatos, they remove the spare tire that comes with the van, and in place of it, that's where your generator goes. So it's one of those space available things, but there are aftermarket items you can buy, such as this Aulminess Ladder, which also has a spare tire carrier on it. Now, as you can see, I have the door open and I'm getting ready to do stuff. I have some of my hardware right here ready to install, but I want to take you to the back of the door first. As you'll notice, I have removed the ladder that came stock with the Travato, and you can see I have the screw holes for the mount here and up here, and that wasn't a bad job. One of the things I did is I put stainless washers underneath these screws. I made sure everything was stainless, so now I won't see any rust at all, because on the existing washers, one of them was rusting, so I went ahead and replaced them. Now, when I was doing that, the biggest problem was getting off the bottom mount. And what I had to do is I went ahead and removed this rear panel, and that was as simple as plucking out these plugs right here, and under it there are Phillips screws that are self-tapping. You go ahead, take the whole panel off, and then you have access to the back side of the bolts that holds on that bottom of the mount. So right now, one of the things that this project calls for is taping the edge of the door, just in case the door were to go forward, that it doesn't scratch up the chassis. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quickly, and then we're going to go ahead and mount the top hinge adapter, or whatever it's called, bracket. You'll see what we do here in a moment. Okay, so as you can see, I went ahead and put painter's tape along the edges of the door. Now what I'm going to do is remove these screws, which are Torx heads. So you need a Torx wrench to remove them. And I'm going to remove the screws, and that way there, with the support of this bucket in the wood and my assistant, we're going to be able to support the door and slip the bracket over this hinge, which I can't do until the hinge is out a little bit, and you'll see what we're saying. I will say this, these have to break a little bit. When you first unloosen them, they're tight. So I did get them to break, and you'll see they should start moving. Keep a hold on the door, please. Now this is one of the hardest parts. This piece needs to align back the door off a little bit. Can you? Hold on. This piece needs to align on this, like so, and I think that's a go. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm gonna go ahead Once I get these started, I'll be able to tighten them right down.
I can lift or drop, whatever you want.
Yeah, just lift toward me. Because that bottom one isn't going in yet. Okay. Okay. Get a close up. So, let me see.
There are no washers in that bag, right? You don't need washers.
No. And as you can see, that bad boy is on there, and I believe it should be aligned pretty straight. So we're going to go ahead and test it to make sure the door closes. So here, hold on. Can we take her off one of those?
Yeah, it's only 1/8 flag.
Okay. So this is the top bracket it's on, and I want to point out that when you put it on, it goes over the hinge, but you got to kind of puzzle it in there because it has to get in back of the back side of the hinge. So now we're going to do number 2, and I'm not going to really film this one. We'll go ahead and show you the after. Okay, as you can see, we got this on, this bottom bracket and the top bracket, and I'll show you what it looks like on the other side. I took the tape off since I don't need it on there anymore. You can see that bottom bracket, and there is a little bit of tape. There we go. So you can see the bottom bracket here, top bracket here, and now we're going to move over to this. The next step is to remove the handle so that I can mount a bracket underneath it on these torque screws that you see right here. So I have an Allen wrench all ready to go. I'm going to pop off that and then go ahead, and you'll see the process that I do here. So in order to install this bracket, which is going to go on something like this, I need to remove the weather strip that's on here, and I'm just going to see if I can pull that off. I'll pull it away. I may have to cut it. Okay, as you can see, we have the bracket on now, and one of the things you had to do was use the screws that the Aulminess Ladder supplied. They're about 1 inch long, and they replaced the screws that were there, and these are hex screws, not torts. The previous ones were torts. The other thing you have to do is you have to cut this weather stripping in order to mount the bracket. And that weather stripping, as you can see inside there, it has steel. Now that's a bit of a effort to cut. So, and the way I cut it was using a multi-tool. So this here is a multi-tool, and as you can see, has a cutting blade, and I was able to cut through that using a metal blade. I was able to cut through that weather stripping. It's reinforced, so it's a little bit of a bear to do. But now I believe we have all the brackets mounted here, so now I have to consult the directions. But one other thing, I did want to show you one other thing, that when I put the bottom bracket on, you again replaced one of the screws with a screw included with the kit. So this inside screw, otherwise it would have stuck out, and it's beveled in here, so you can see that it takes a beveled screw. So that's what that is. I just wanted to bring that up. All right, so one of the things they also want you to do is put on a little bit of webbing in case the door were to fly open, but I do have safeties on my hinges already that prevent it from doing so. I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about. You have this within the door jamb. You pull off the grommet and you put another piece here, but I'll do that in a little bit. For now, I'm going to take the grommet, put it back on here, and go ahead and mount the ladder, which I think is more important. and get everything that I need mounted on it. I will say it's almost like the directions skipped a page, and I'm going to look through there again, but I don't see any part of the directions that actually put the ladder on the van. You put the brackets on and then you do what you're supposed to do, I guess. I'm not sure. I'll find out that here in a minute. Okay, so we have the ladder. We're going to go ahead and mount it to the van. Hopefully I'm not overstepping myself. I have my assistant, my wife's cousin Gilles. His name is, it's a little French, a lot French actually, probably 100% French. So we're gonna go ahead and mount this on the brackets. What we just did is we dry fitted it because we weren't sure if the ladder went to the inside or the outside, but looking at the brackets, you couldn't mount it here because there is a lip. So we're gonna go ahead and put these on right now and we'll see how it goes. I got my nuts right here, and I'm going to assume it wants a washer on the inside and the outside. Let's put it up. And just go ahead and put that on there like so. Get another one down here. Oh, I forgot to put the other washer on. Got to make sure you don't forget the washers inside and out. There's a little tight area to get into. There we go. I'll add a washer. Now I'm going to come over here.
Yeah, but I don't
Do one on this
understand.
side.
I don't understand this gap here, but maybe it's because it meant to be there.
Okay, so we now have the ladder on. Now this is a bit of a bear to get on because this bracket wasn't quite on straight, but what they do is they give you, if you can see in there, they give you 1/8 inch spacers to take up the gap, whereas these ones, they're very, very tight, very tight. So I'm going to show you what the ladder looks like so far. It's looking pretty sporty, and there is more to go on. We have a whole box of stuff right here, and I'm going to go ahead and take a look at those instructions right now. But the first thing I want to do is make sure it closes properly. Look at that. And now I'll close the other door just to make sure. Looking good. Oh, that is solid. That is solid. I like it. This is way better. Just trying this right now is way better than the stock ladder that comes with the Travato. The only benefit with the Travato ladder is you can go down the side, but you can only do that on one side. I can now get up on the roof here and very carefully go down the side if I need to. So this is actually pretty good. And I will say this, I've had this rig for over 2 years now. I've used that ladder one time. That was it. So I would rather have a ladder that doubled as a spare tire carrier. And because it's getting a little late here, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out for today. But we'll be back tomorrow. Good morning, everyone. Well, we're back at it again as I'm installing this spare tire ladder mount on my Travato 59K. Now, before I started filming, one of the things I did, actually it's two things, is they say to mount these holders that the tire is going to rest on loosely, which I've done, and I've also mounted the middle bracket of which the center of the tire will go right on that, and I've mounted that rather loose. It'll move up and down. It's barely tight enough. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and mount these It calls to mount this one as close to the tail light, and then this one you would mount equally from the center post. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to use a square, and we'll see how this goes. By the way, when you're mounting these bolts here, you're going to need a longer barrel ratchet, such as this. That's what you're going to need, because a short barrel that you might get with your ratchet kit is not going to fit on the bolt when you're tightening down the nut. It's not going to happen. So you're going to need a longer barrel. Plus, you need to get behind. You see how deep that is? So you'll have to get behind the tire mount itself, the ladder, with the ratchet, and you need to be deep enough. So I just picked up one of these. Prior to that, I was using this one. It's a little bit too short. So let's get started on tightening these down. Okay, loosey, very tighty. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that's fairly level. I'd say that's not too bad considering how close I am to here. So, okay, so I have these now mounted, and what I did is I just used a square like you saw in the video, just to give it an idea of where it needs to be. So I got them pretty squared. I actually had to loosen this one up and redo it, but they both feel pretty good. And one of the things they want you to do is push this one all the way to the tail light. And what I did is I simply measured, and it's roughly 9 7/8. And then I put this one here at about 9 7/8. I measured from the farthest corner of the bracket center to the inside of this here. So it works out pretty good. Now what I'm going to do, this is loose, but it's tight enough to move up and down. I'm going to go ahead and get the tire and mount it right on here. And hopefully I won't have any issues with that. Now one thing I see already is there's a cap in the middle of the tire. Just pop it out. Now what this tire is, on my van, I just recently had the Michelin Cross Climate Agilis directional tires put on this van. And then I ordered a rim off eBay and went ahead and had one of the old tires, which is a Nexum. They're not really old, but the previous tire that was on here, I had one of those tires mounted on this rim. So now I have a spare tire. And the rim cost, I think it was around 200 bucks on eBay. There's plenty of them out there. Just make sure you get the right size. You don't want to mess that up. So the company I ordered it from, they actually asked me for all the measurements, and I believe I got the right one because the tire fits it. So okay, so I'm going to go ahead and lift this up. And you can see that's sitting on there pretty nice, and I can see right now that my bracket is a little bit too high. So I'm going to take that and punch it down a little bit, see if I can get it in the center. Still a little too high. That's all the way to the bottom. You know what? And that almost looks centered. It's a little bit off. Or is it? So that's not too bad. Okay, so here we are back again. I just want to show you what this tire looks like mounted. And here you have it. The thing I do not like on a Ram ProMaster tire is that this thing that you put on the tire to hold it up against the rack sticks out so far. Look at that. Now I want to put a tire cover over this. I'm going to call them as soon as possible, which is going to be tomorrow, and see if they have an alternative to that. I definitely don't like that. The other thing is that it says torque to 70 pounds. I've been using a torque wrench, and this thing it's plenty tight, but I'm going to question that as well, how tight you need to get it. I may have to look at it periodically to make sure. Now, good news is I went ahead and installed the license plate, and that was fine, but I haven't done the wiring for the light above the license plate holder, and that's what I'm getting ready to do right now. In order to do that, I need to pull off the panel on the other side of the door. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this panel off. It only takes a couple minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like inside there. And while I have it open, I'm going to put this strap on that goes from here through this grommet. I'll pull the grommet off, and I think what I'm going to do is put a little slice in that so it goes, the strap goes through the grommet. Possibly I'll still be able to use it. Okay, so that's what it looks like with the panel off. And this here wire is the wire to my license plate, and what I'm going to do is try to tap into that, and it shouldn't be an issue. I just got to make sure I have access down to the license plate holder that I just put on. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put this strap on. I like the idea of that, so I'll take care of that right now. Okay, so there you can see I've installed the little ring, or whatever you want to call it. I've attached the strap, and I actually sliced a little incision through the grommet, and now I'm going to bring that grommet up and see if I can attach it. There we go. Not too bad, huh? I could probably trim this back a little bit, but you know, as long as it's holding, I'm going to leave it there. We'll see. I might trim it back a little bit more later. And right now I'm just going to connect it over here to the chassis with a long bolt and nut, and that will take care of that process. So hey everybody, I have pretty much finished the installation of this tire rack slash ladder, and a couple things I want to go over before I close out this video are the pros and cons. But before I do that, I just wanted to show you something real quickly. You saw me get up on the ladder, but that was without the tire mount on the ladder. Now as you notice, I got the tire mounts here. They're all tightened down, and I also have put on the plate that goes over the whatever you call this thing that holds the tire onto the mount. And this plate, by the way, comes with its own Allen wrench, as you can see. So all you got to do is take these screws off, and then you can remove the plate and access the bolt that actually holds the tire on. But another thing I added, which came with the kit, but I've added since, because in order to get up the ladder, you need to use these steps, as you can see. Now notice the one at the bottom I have angled outward. That just makes it easier for me to get up, and the other two are angled this way. I'm going to demonstrate these steps just so you can see. 1, 2, and then of course you can step on the tire and you're up. That's pretty good, I think. So 1, coming down, 2, it's pretty good. And these just fold right up, and if I bring the camera over here, this one here in the middle hits the tire a little bit, but I'm not worried about it, as long as it folds up so the door can open. And the other thing is, is these are, when I first put them on, I had to do some minor adjustments to make sure they were equal. So these are equally spaced for me. They can be readjusted, but notice one I put on top of a ladder rung right here. You can see the ladder rung, so it sits right on top. And then I put the bottom one on, and then I basically spaced out the middle one so it's equal. So that worked out pretty nicely. But make sure you put these back up, because otherwise they will hit your tail light and break it. Let's go over a couple of the pros. First off, they're pretty obvious. It's great having a sturdy ladder on the back. It's great having a spare tire on the back. I love all that. And it's a good product. It's heavy duty. Nice having these steps. All that good stuff. But what are the cons? Well, one con is, in order to get to the spare tire, I have to remove the plate, and then I got to carry a ratchet wrench with me, which I do have, in order to take off the bolt and remove the tire. So if you don't have the extra tools like I do, you're going to be required to carry them. The other thing is, I had to move the license plate. So the license plate, which would have been in back of the tire, is now at the bottom. And that meant accessing the wiring and tapping into the light on the new license plate holder. So that's a little bit of work right there. And for those of you who are a little bit hairy about, you know, accessing or cutting into wires and stuff, it might not be the job for you. That's up to you. But the big con for me is this thing. And I did call Aluminess and ask them if there was an alternative locking mechanism. And they said no. This is what they went to recently. And I believe the reason why, it's in a pyramid shape, so it fits all tires, regardless of the diameter of the hole. So unfortunately, on the ProMaster, that hole is only about a 2-inch hole, whereas on other tires, the hole is maybe 4 inches, so it has a better, it sinks in better. And the profile isn't as big. Now, why does that bother me? One is because I had a tire cover that I wanted to put on this, and it does not have a hole in the middle. I thought I was going to have something that was more flush, and when I mounted the tire, I would have the cover part way on, and then I would just finish putting the cover over it. But that's not the case. However, what I did is I went ahead and ordered a new tire cover, which has a hole in the middle where this is. A lot of tire covers come that way because on some vehicles, such as a Jeep, that's where the rear camera is mounted, inside the center of the tire, or the spare tire. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a short video later once I get my tire cover in, and I'll go ahead and load it up the way I want to do it, and we'll be good to go there. But I think, oh, one other con. The directions that come with the ladder tire mount kit. They're pretty good, but there wasn't, I don't know what they did, but I could not find the directions that actually had me mounting this tire, the ladder rack on. And before I close this video, I do want to say I made a couple mistakes. One is that I'm going to open this up. The kit came with a clear adhesive. I was supposed to cut up that adhesive and place it underneath the new brackets, like down here. I should have placed a little bit of adhesive here, and where the hinges are. But I couldn't quite figure out how that was supposed to happen. I'm really not worried about it. The second mistake I made, and this was in the instructions, as was the adhesive. The second mistake I made is when I cut this weather seal. What you were supposed to do was trim this part off and leave this part on. So what I'm going to do is see if I can get a piece of weather seal and just put it on here, or mount it on the other door so that it meets this part, if you understand my meaning. So basically, I'll take care of that. I'll put a little piece of weather strip over this, and hopefully that'll be fine. But that was my bad. Don't make that mistake. If you can figure out a way to put that adhesive on, fine. If you notice, when they did these mounts, like this bicycle mount that came with a Travato, there is no adhesive underneath this bracket right here. They just go ahead and mount it to the door. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. All right, so basically I stumbled my way through this whole process, got it done. I will say it's going to take you longer than an hour to do this, partly because the instructions can be a little bit vague, and it does require 2 people because somebody has to hold the door. It's also good to support the door as you're taking it off. And so I guess that about wraps everything up. Thank you for following along with this as I stumble through yet another install. If you like this video, feel free to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel. All the best to all, and happy adventures.